And good morning, Ozarks. A little news in the food stamp program. We'll tell you what it is right after this.
I want to be your disability rep.
And we're back. So, big news in the food stamp world, I hear.
Well, you know, it's not Social Security disability, but a lot of the people who file for disability are somewhat dependent on that food stamp program to kind of keep things going.
Kind of transitional period.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the programs available.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing. You know, my wife worked over there for 35 years before she retired at the food stamp office. And so, you know, kind of ear to the ground, I guess, on a lot of things.
Sure.
But a couple years ago, they had went to a call center setup to take inbound customer service calls. And unfortunately, the call center company that took that bid came back later and said, whoa, the number of calls are way
Wow.
excessive,
Yeah.
far more than what you told us they were going to be.
The RFB was off.
Yeah, the RFP was off by a lot. And so they stepped away from that agreement.
Sure, yeah.
And then the state offered to sue them, and there was a big back and forth. And yeah, and finally.
Oh, we can sue you if you would like.
Yeah. But then,
choice.
Finally the state took a lot of that back over. But here's where it's in the news now. When you call in, when you file for food stamps, let's start there. When you file for food stamps, there has to be an interview. It's a federal requirement. There has to be an interview. And
It have to be face-to-face?
Not anymore. It used to be, but not anymore. Unfortunately, people call into the call center, they'd wait over an hour. And, of course, this is a population that doesn't have good phone access.
Sure.
Oftentimes is working on prepaid minutes on their phone. And so it's a real burden or a real problem for them to call in. Long wait times, that call center will disconnect you automatically.
There was no option to go in person.
A lot of the offices have been closed since COVID.
No in-person option, yeah.
So if the interview's not done within 30 days, the system denies you.
Oh, yeah.
And so the federal judge, Judge Harpole, had an issue with that, and rightfully so.
Sure.
And so there's a big order now where the state's going to have to come up with a plan, and they're going to have to figure out ways to fix this and submit it to the court and provide monthly reports. And, you know, I appreciate the effort on Judge Harpole's part, but, it's not penalties, it's not fines, it's not dismissals or terminations.
Well, I mean, it seems to me like the easy thing to do is flip the switch and go, if you don't have your interview in 30 days, and unless we can show affirmative negligence, you're automatically approved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other way. You just shift the burden. I don't know why that's so complicated.
But in the kind of a general sense here, when we talk about folks that are struggling with Social Security disability or otherwise, you've got to remember if the food stamp office, the Medicaid office, or the same office, if they're going to be putting a hyper focus on the food stamp program, it's going to be harder to get your Medicaid claim through.
Right.
And then that's going to create problems with medical records for people that are trying to get Social Security disability. I guess the takeaway is you're going to have to jump up and down and be very verbal for a while.
Well, it's everybody fishing in the same pond, I guess, is one way to look at it. If you're pulling the resources, like, oh, now we've got to devote all these resources to food stamps, so we don't have the resources to devote, because it's all Health Net.
Right.
Yes, is what we're saying. It's Social Security. All this is all administered by Missouri Health Net, and if they've got to pull their resources from other areas to devote to food stamps now, then that's going to impact the delays in the processing of other claims, disability and otherwise.
Medicaid claims, most definitely.
Sure,
It's going to cause a real backlog there, unfortunately. Part of the answer from the Family Services Office at this point is private contract with call centers again, which is kind of funny because we just saw this fail miserably, and now that's going to be the path again. Similar thing happens with Social Security, the SSI program, and your initial protective filing. You have to make contact with Social Security, have to visit with them within 60 days for a lot of these claims. At the 60-day mark, if they haven't heard from you or you haven't returned calls, they bounce your claim as well.
Yeah.
So these
Well,
things are going to have to be very proactive. For
I guess
people.
if the government puts out an honest RFB this time, they might get the bid that they're looking for.
They might.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are tricky. Those are tricky deals to do.
Yeah.
If we're in business, we all have to do those from time to time.
Well, it's an unknown, and
It is,
You
to
may
some
have
extent.
you may have the same client call 17 times in one day, and that's going to skew the numbers, and so it's a difficult thing for sure.
Yeah.
But like I said, the takeaway is if you're filing for food stamps or for Medicaid benefits, it's going to be real important that you make contact often, that you really stay on top of your claim,
Yep.
that you're really proactive in getting these things done. Because unfortunately, the plan is, if we don't hear from you, we're going to just push your claim to the side and deny it.
Yeah, well, the best way to do that is have a good, knowledgeable advocate on your side. And you can call Roy. His number's on the screen, 417-812-6698, or point your phone. You may have to hit the little zoom in button and zoom in on that QR code. A little link will pop up. Tap it on your screen. It'll take you right to his website, and you can talk to him today.
Yeah.
Yep. And other than that, we'll be back next week with more tips. Thanks.
I want to be your disability rep.